Everybody tells me I talk too loud, and I know we got a bunch from Slatedale that like to talk, and Sue will get them up here, but that's another story. All right, my name's Rick Kistler. I'm the third generation of Kistler's Garage. A little family history. My grandfather, Elmer, and the family lived in Palmerton into the mid-40s because he worked at the zinc company. And we moved to Slatedale in the mid-40s. Part of the building actually was there when they moved out, and actually it was a garage that had a half a pit. So it was just like destined to be a garage. So my grandfather worked at Bryfogel's in Slatedale. He worked at the knitting mill, which is we just went through. My dad worked at the knitting mill for a short time while he was going through school. So 1958 is our starting point, so that puts us to our 67th year. I started at -5, but no one's counting. So I just wanted to show, I put some pictures together, give you brief history, because I know it's late and people are getting impatient. So I did bring some visual aids as well. So okay, so we'll get the ball rolling. The building was put up in 58, it had a flat roof, so we put like that barn roof on in the mid-80s for extra storage. We had another garage in the early 2000s to store some things. So that's the garage itself. Now I just want to go touch a couple bases on what quote I think I'll always be remembered by. So our first thing is most people that's ever been there get scared of the pit. So there's a picture of the pit with all the cars that have come over through the garage all the years between fancy cars and just novelty cars. I just picked a picture. The picture was obviously from the 90s. A guy in town had his Philadelphia Flyers minivan. So, you know, the pit, we've only had one casualty in probably thousands and thousands and thousands of cars have driven on. So it's just like, you know, with airplane crashes. There's one that always sticks out. But everybody else has been a success because most people, if they're scared to death to drive over it, they won't even attempt it. So only having one fall in, and that was in 1980, so it was an early 70s Chevelle, which back then people just drove around, and they were real cars, would have metal, so you could get it out without too much. So next pictures represent, over the years, I always thought we were a little ahead of our time. Like we were a mini market before there was ever a thing as mini markets with garages and gas stations. Because I showed that first picture, our alley that separates like from us. Well, first off, for those who don't know, we're located on Garage Avenue, which is actually an alley that connects Main Street and Grant Street. So we're in the block that's between the Holy Trinity Church and the Hunsaker Funeral Home. So I tell people we're between the baptisms and the burials, we're in between. So over the years, we had our, like, that represents a tractor trailer, which was obviously the Pepsi truck. So I brought, even though this is Coke, I know many people remember when Coke used to come in little 6.5-ounce bottles. Most people swore this was better Coke than the 16-ounce, the cans, 2 liters, 20 ounces, or anything else you could buy a Coke. So back then they were, you know, a dime or a nickel deposit. So that was really my first job back in the 70s, was putting all these bottles in order because people would bring them back or drink one while they're there. So, you know, we did a lot of soda business. If people remember the 16 ounces, that was always the best seller. And another evolution of things in the garage world, like on the right there, we had a picture of like back like in the 50s and 60s, which was obviously before my time, oil came in glass bottles. I don't know how many people, because those bottles are worth money. We do have a couple. Then they went to like a gallon can where you take that funnel, like plunger, and stick it in, and it would make a mess and run all over the place. Then it went to quart cans in plastic, and now that's what represents all those cases there. Now almost everything's in bulk, and you don't have all the waste and everything else. So. Also on the left picture, we also sold cigarettes back in the day, and people want to remember back when there was a cigarette machine. That's on the left there. You put your money in. There were obviously how many brands. You pulled out the lever, and then your pack of cigarettes would come out. Granted, this was long before people had to have ID to get cigarettes, and I know the statute of limitations is passed, so I don't know how many younger people came and got cigarettes and we just didn't know, or didn't want to know. The next thing that we'll always sort of be remembered by is our license plate collection. Like, people come for the first time and they're like, oh, those license plates are so cool. Do you have them all? And then I'll say, yes, they're in alphabetical order. I'll ask you to Wyoming. We even have Washington, D.C. in case the Democrats get them a state. We're ready for them. But then they'll say, well, do you have so-and-so? It's like, I have them all. I have most of Canada. So I just brought a couple samples here. You know, like this was given, you know, some of these states really have very elaborate license plates. And, you know, it's a neat little hobby. This one we couldn't pass up. And these are all basically donated. You know, you got New Hampshire for tires. We got most of Canada. We'll take anything you have if you have any international ones. I know I had a customer that was in the Iraqi war and he was told he cannot bring, that's one thing American soldiers were told not to bring back from Iraq were license plates. So I have no idea why, but. So over the years, besides the three of us, my grandfather who passed away in 1988, my dad who passed away this past March, obviously I'm the third generation. We've had three other employees. Gary Hawes, who has Hawes' Auto Repair, who is sort of retired, but I tell him he's not, he's semi-retired, so he still does things. He was our first employee. Then we had David Blows Jr. He passed away after a car accident in around Christmas of '88. And then we also hired Terry White, who has recently passed away too. So of the 6 licensed mechanics that worked there, really, there's only 2 of us left. The other 4 are, bless their hearts, are up at Slatedale Cemetery. So that's on the personnel side. Now, on another thing I always think will be noted for besides the pit, the license plates. My dad was a big believer in decorating our bulletin board. So on the left represents just your random Christmas decorations you would do, Halloween, Thanksgiving, you know. It gave it more of a homely approach instead of like you're going to a major shop, and I don't diss any major shops where, yeah, they give you free coffee, donuts. I don't do that. But we try to have in and out 15, 20 minutes for oil changes, which now those fast lube places, they think they're the latest and greatest. Done that, been there, done that, so we're not, you know, like I say, you should have bottled and patented some of these ideas over the years. With looking through the pictures, I came across the right one. I don't even remember when we did that, but it was Desert Storm. We put on our board all the people that were relatives of our customers that we're serving. And as you can see on the right, there's more license plates. I know we were kind of known back in the day, if you didn't pay your bill with us, we put your name on the board. And people still wonder where that is, and it's like, well, in the year 2000, we gave everybody a clean slate because they weren't going to pay. If they didn't pay in all those years, we'll start the new century off, everybody got a clean slate. So I didn't have a picture of that. I think most people would have got a kick out of that. So on the left, one time, well, back in the day, we had a couple racers that were customers that raced at Mahoney. So they had some good years. So on the left represents, we had, go with the champions. And one of the things that, it's nice to see when you get your name on stuff that you'll like always be remembered. So the first picture there, that's Bob Chrisman. That's obviously our name on the back corner. And then next slide is Terry Schweibens. It's kind of hard to see. So, it's nice when you go someplace and you see your name. I tell people when they ask where the next generation or where the place is going to go, it's like your name's on the marquee, you sell it to somebody else. It's not the Slatedale Service Center, it's not the Slatedale whatever. Your name's on, so you basically have to back your product. So, as I say, I'm the third generation. I want to invite my 5th generation to come forward to go over some of the things that say mementos. So over the years, my dad had a big thing with, giving items away, Christmas with our name on it. So anybody have their Kisser's Garage fly swatter? And in our Kisser's Garage litter bag, like who has a litter bag in their car anymore? I don't know. So, So we have our ice scraper. Just pick them out. Oh yeah. When you want to have your owner's card or whatever, you put them in there so people can find them instead of searching all over their car. Trust me, we've been there, done that. Letter opener. Probably couldn't do this anymore. Somebody would stab themselves and sue. Because this one even has the razor blade in. These were the best ones. We got our tablet. How many people remember the plastic cup you put in your glove compartment and fold it up, and you got yourself a drinking cup? We got our Kisser's Garage nail set with a little cuticle and nail cutter. She's going to try it. Just open it up and try it. Go ahead. We'll give samples. No, we're not giving these out. These are mementos. We have a 6-inch ruler. These were the best letter openers, especially this one even has the magnet so you can stick it on your fridge. No, not open it up. See? For those people that didn't know, there's your drinking cup. Okay, what else do we have left in our bag? Got it. Oh, we got it. Keychain, that's pretty basic. A tablet we can get a pen with. This is a cheap, plastic ice scraper where you're number one, the real number one. Paper clip on steroids. Another keychain, it's courtesy of Quaker State, which we have another thing to end with that.
Oh yeah, these are screwdrivers.
The little pocket screwdriver that turns around from a Phillips to a regular. So your keychain we got it, just stick it in there. And we got the baby paper clip, that on steroids. So this was always a favorite, the old coin purse. Who carries a coin purse anymore? You can't get it in your wallet. So one last thing. When people say about mementos worth anything, Davey Hughes, who sits back there, tells me he checks like on eBay what this stuff is actually worth and selling for, which I don't know who's buying it, but you go on eBay, Quaker State matches with my name on, or on eBay selling for $3.99. Trust me, it's true, and I got a whole box here. So other garages are selling for $5.99. I don't know how they're doing it, but I'm only $3.99. But it is on eBay. And so what the future holds, obviously they're not planning on going in the garage business, so I can't say. I want to thank, actually, before I go, between my mom for washing our dirty clothes for like 65 years in her wringer washer. Bless her heart, she's still doing it today. And thank my sister, she's my aide when I can't do computer stuff or whatever. So I want to thank the whole family and thank everybody for coming out. I know they left me and the Hardline girls for last, I guess, since we're the only live ones in this group. So we're trying to keep this moving, and thank you for your attention, and on to the last one.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to fly through this. Hardline Brothers. Before I talk about the store, I need to touch on the concept of company stores. Company stores in this case were stores run by slate companies where employees of said slate company were expected to do their shopping at their employer's store for their family's needs. A tab was kept for each employee and paid off with his earned wages. The Royal Blue Slate Company, which we talked briefly about earlier, was organized by Oliver F. Kern in 1899 and run by Alvin Weiss and Henry H. Kern. They were a duo in this slate venture until 1902, when they admitted Oliver F. Kern into partnership. In addition to the quarry operations, they ran one such company store. The store was built in 1920 by the proprietor, Alvin Weiss. The block building contained the store on the left with a private residence on the right. A service elevator was located halfway into the store. The store sold food, produce, and meat, along with work clothes and shoes. Elwood and Ralph Hartline purchased the Royal Blue Company store in 1949. The brothers eventually stopped selling clothing and shoes, and instead it became strictly a general store. The store sold, among other things, roasts, chops, luncheon meats, loose pretzels, penny candy, barrel pickles, writing paper, pens, pencils, and wrapping paper. Hartline's also roasted peanuts on a weekly basis, and Slatedale's residents could smell the aroma as it wafted through town. They also sold Sunoco gas, as well as Sunoco brand Mercury-made motor oil. Ralph retired in 1959 and Elwood in 1967. Warren and Emma Hartline sold the business to Paul Hewitt in 1974. They ran the business for him until Paul's Market opened in 1976. Warren was a retailer for Hartline Brothers store for many years and passed away in 1989. His wife Emma lived to be 87 and passed away in 2004. When Paul Hewitt retired, he sold the business to Edward and Dorothy Hartman in 1989, when the store became known as Slatedale Market. The store was later purchased by Robert and Diane Brooks in 1997. However, a few short years later, in 2002, Robert closed the market and turned the building into apartments. Now some brief information on some of the owners. Paul Hewitt passed away in 2020 at the age of 87. He was married to Joanne Hartline, daughter of Emma, for 29 years and ran Paul's Market for 14 years until retiring. He was a corporal in the Army during the Korean War. Ralph Hartline passed away 10 days after being admitted to Harrisburg Hospital at the age of 60 in 1959. He retired from his business a few months prior when he fell ill. In addition to his business, Ralph was former director and treasurer of the Bowmanstown Camp Meeting Association, and for 15 years served as a trustee for the Salem Evangelical United Brethren Church in Slatedale. He also served for 20 years as president of the Brethren Bible Class of Salem EUB Sunday School, and was a member of the Christian Businessmen's Association of Allentown. Ralph's wife, Florence Thomas, passed away in 1991 at the age of 88. Elwood Hartline passed away in 1989 at the age of 85. He and his wife, Hilda, were married for 62 years. Elwood owned and operated Hartline Brothers for 35 years before retiring in 1967. He was a member of Holy Trinity Lutheran Church, Slatedale, and served on its council for 28 years. Elwood was former treasurer of the Slatedale Cemetery Association and the Slatedale Emerald Lions Club. Elwood's wife, Hilda Moser, died in 1993 at the age of 90. Now finally, we have Kern's Furniture Store. Now this is a more recent business than most of the ones we've been talking about today. However, Kern's Furniture Store nonetheless had a great impact on the village of Slatedale. The business was started by Harry J. Kern back in the 1930s as a second-hand furniture business. He began with $65 worth of used furniture. The first location was a rented barn behind his brother Lawrence's home on Main Street in Slatedale. Harry married Idella Schleicher, and they had two children, daughter Dallas and a son, James. James joined the Marines and served in World War II. After the war, in 1948, he and his father decided to build a store adjacent to the barn. The store was in an alley behind the home of Venus Hawes. Several years later, they bought the Hawes home, demolished it, and built a front section to the building to give the business a Main Street entrance. Around this time, Harry bought out a used furniture business from Aaron Weiss that was located on William Street. Harry died in 1962 from a coronary thrombosis, and son James became sole owner of the company. Now back to 1957, Kearns opened an outlet store, 2 outlet stores, one in Wanamaker's and one in Palmerton. 5 years later, he bought the home next door to the business and built a one-story building to house Kern Furniture's early American section. During this time, Kearns offered high-quality name-brand furniture, major Norge appliances, Motorola TVs, bedding, and carpeting. Their popular Memorial Day sales in the 1960s brought people from all over the Lehigh Valley to Slatedale. People would wait in line at the front doors to be the first in line for the sales. One of Kearns' traditions was to give a small lane cedar chest to Slatedale High School seniors as a graduation gift. In the late 1960s, a warehouse outlet store was opened in the former Slatedale knitting mill. The showroom was located on the first floor and the warehouse on the second floor. In 1971, Jim purchased the home of Carrie Brown on Main Street. Carrie was the daughter of Harry Balliet, who built this Victorian home in the early 1900s. Balliet was an esteemed engineer who helped build roads from Hamburg to Reading. He was also a longtime justice of the peace. Jim arranged to have the house lifted and transported to his Main Street lot, where a corridor connected the house to the store. He ended up redecorating the home and displayed furniture in the home's 8 rooms for people to tour. He called it Das Städtelhaus, which means the village house in German. A final addition was added to the business at this time, which included a lower-level gift shop and warehouse. Jim died in 1990, and by November 1997, the business had ceased operations as big box furniture stores began to appear in the Lehigh Valley. In closing, I just want to say that I vividly remember going to Kearns Furniture Store when I was a young child. I think my entire bedroom set when I was a child came from Kearns. Maybe most kids would be bored there. I wasn't. I always liked to explore there, go up and down the big carpeted staircase located near the front of the store. I remember my first experience laying on a waterbed was at Kearns as they became popular in the 1970s. Does anyone still have furniture from Kearns? I do. Lots, okay. I still have a Lane cedar chest, which I think is the last slide. Oh, there. So, that's it.
We've been doing presentations now for 7-8 years. This is our 6th presentation that we've done in the fall. We started with cemetery walks, and then this was our first one not focusing on a cemetery in the fall. In the spring, we did the 100 block of Main Street with businesses, 200 block, and then this past spring we did 300 and 400 block. Next year is a big year. It's 2026. It's our nation's 250th anniversary. And we have a lot of different events that we're planning. We're hoping in the spring to do another talk about businesses in Slatedale in the 500 block, and then potentially the 600 block also in the fall, next fall. Our committee is working hard on a publication chronicling our local area's history, specifically looking at 1876, 1876, 1976, 1776. Okay, we're going back in like 100-year increments. Thank you, Robert. Not a whole lot to talk about in 1776 because the only ones around here were like the Kearns and the Ramaleys. But nonetheless, we're working very hard on that. Hopefully we're going to have that out for next summer when the area is going to celebrate our nation's 250th. Our committee has been working with a couple of local organizations to have a celebration. I believe that's going to be in May of 2026. More information is going to be coming out in the future, but we want to make sure that, you know, us here in Slatedale, we celebrate our nation's 250th. I'm sure most of you are aware Ben Franklin has been here. He bought some lumber at Trucker's Mill for a fort up outside of Lehighton. So our area did contribute, maybe not in a great way, but in at least a little bit of way. And we did have a number of people who did serve in the Revolutionary War as well. So thank you, folks. This is, of our 9 presentations, this is the best attended. Usually we get 40 people. I think I counted 88, and then like more people came. So I think we have over 100 people. Thank you so much for spending your Saturday afternoon with us, and we look forward to seeing you in the future. Thank you very much.